Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of My Uni Experience. Now it's been a while since part 6, I think like a month and a half, because a lot has gone on since then. You might say there's a bit of a backlog. Well, backlog's the wrong word really, since time doesn't exactly... Anyway, in this video I'll mainly be going over our final assessment. The process within, the good and the bad, and how it all went. Now, I should say, this video was made possible by my monkey lawyer, who has heavily consulted me on what I can and can't say. Sure, okay. Well, could I mention the time when there was... No. Okay, but what if I was to mention when there was... What the hell am I not paying you for? You see, making this video was quite the process, because we don't want to get into any trouble, now do we? So, upon coming back after Easter, after I turned 21, I had a nice birthday, chilled with a fat Chinese meal at the end of it. We had our final assessment when we came back. We had to do a 30-minute performance in about 5 weeks. So, cool, we love that. We're already put into our groups that we would be. We did this before the half term, which was a really good idea, because then it meant that we wouldn't be faffing around wasting time with stuff like we did in the 20-minute performance that we had to do. Don't worry, that said my piece on that. I really liked my group. It was me, Henry, Ruth, Levi and Belle. There were 5 of us for the 30-minute performance we had to do. We were a solid group. We were chosen to be together based on what we wanted to do for the final assessment, because initially we all wanted to do a comedy, and Levi had actually written a first draft of an idea that we could do. I think we spent the first week going over this draft and adjusting it based on our lecturer's notes. This was a bit of a rocky start. We went from 2 to 3 different drafts of Levi's, and soon a whole group's draft based around Levi's initial idea. Levi's initial idea or script was about a watchmaker who gives someone a watch and it allows them to roll back time a little, and they can basically undo mistakes that they make in the present, but eventually things get out of hand. We then changed that idea so that the main character doesn't receive a watch from the watchmaker, but they already had these powers. It was a fun script. I liked it. It had some fun lines, but it wasn't well received by our lecturers. So we thought we would try something else entirely. But that's how we spent our first week. Oh, and also we printed out both copies of these drafts. So 10 scripts altogether, each person having 2 each. Remember that. We printed out 10 scripts. It's a lot of paper. And it's only going to get worse. In week 2, we pretty much spent our time looking at new scripts that Belle had found online. Some names that come to mind are Bouncers, Dirty Great Love Story, and there was a few others that didn't work, and I can't remember. We read the first 2 entirely, and we did like the scripts. Bouncer was my favourite of these new scripts. And we later printed out Dirty Great Love Story. So 3 scripts each per person, for a total of 15 scripts. But ultimately, this wasn't to be either, which I was kind of glad about, because I wasn't a fan of the story, but I wanted to get on with the final assessment. So if we had a final script, I'd suck it up. I didn't find Dirty Great Love Story very funny at all, apart from one bit, because a lot of the dialogue was in poetry. And it was, I'm trying to help her, but she can't understand, and I feel like a tit with this tit in my hand. One of the characters helps this drunk woman in the club and accidentally touches her. The overall story just didn't work for us, though. I remember we were in the TV studio and we were all struggling to stage it because it happened in so many different places. There's a bedroom, there's a pub, there's a wedding, and it's just, yeah, and it was like really short scenes, so transitioning from them was a nightmare. But we'd eventually then sit down together and discuss just scrapping the whole script because it wasn't working, and we would then take a break that day. And I think it was Henry that came up with the idea then, on that day, of doing a show about our 3 years in uni together, which we all clicked with instantly. I think it was him. I'm pretty sure it was. We were a bit scared, admittedly, because 3 weeks left to write this 30-minute performance. But we made it work. We definitely made it work. I love how it turned out. Our lecturer was skeptical at first, but we could tell on their face. But we were sure about this idea, that we would make it work. And we did. It took us about 2 weeks to finally find our idea. And from week 3, we'd end up sitting together as a group to write it, and then use improvisation to act our scenes out. And then we'd come back and add in what worked and take out what didn't, and like that. And it's a really successful process. Again, we were a solid team, and everyone was pulling their weight to contribute. You can see in the show where there's elements from everyone in it, and it's honestly one of my favourite shows that we have done at uni. There were a few scenes that we had to cut out, that we had in there initially. One was of Henry and Levi doing the Air France announcement that I put to the actual music that played on the flight. And this was a nod back to the actual SA flight, but we added in that the two air host people forgot to turn off the tannoy, and they had a lovely romantic sesh at the back of the plane.
Bonjour passengers, welcome aboard your Air France flight to South Africa. We shall depart shortly, but first, the cabin crew will give a brief safety demonstration. Merci. John, Claude, it has been so long since I have seen you. I have longed for this moment.
Claude, don't speak. It has been too long. Meet me in the cabin. I have a very special package for you. Bon appetit.
Wait, is this thing on? Apologies. Enjoy your flight.
Listening to the audio was hilarious. It was so fun to record it. It was a struggle, but it was so fun to record it. And when we showed it to the class, they found it funny, but our lecturers didn't, which would be a recurring theme. Our lecturers told us that using the stereotype that French people have sexy voices, even if that was the case on our actual flight, is stereotypical. And they then compared it to if we did an Arab impression, and said that if we said in an Arab voice that we were going to bomb a plane, it would be just as bad. Yeah, we were all deeply baffled by this, because I think the comparisons are wildly different, and we initially fought to keep it in. We added in a throwaway line about it being exaggerated, the audio not actually happening, and we took out a line saying that he had a really sexy deep voice. I can't do it, but imagine I could. And we had to cut it. Looking back, it doesn't really matter, and it's not that big a deal as I've just said it to be. The lecturers obviously know what they're doing, and we were just a bit grumpy about it, or more than grumpy about it, I suppose, but there we go. This isn't in any way a dig or an attack. I've got to emphasise that. It was just part of our process. We were strongly hesitant and reluctant to take that out, but in the end we did. Another scene would have been from when we finished doing the second year, because when we talk about our first and second years in the show, we represent them with a small extract of the shows that we did that year. I was told by the one lecturer who comes in just for this assessment alone, had seen my video with me talking about Decade, and he said he didn't approve of when I was saying how the tech team messed up the lighting during each day that we did, with the most basic of cues being missed. In our show this year, we were going to show an extract from Decade and then end on us telling the tech team to do better, saying that a lot of the stuff that they got wrong. But he told us to drop it. Fair point, I suppose? I think we added in that scene out of remembered annoyance for them. But also, the main reason was because we thought it was funny. People in the class found it funny. The lecturers didn't. We'd have the red light blare on the stage to remind us, the actors, that the tech team are in control as we apologised to them. But we had to cut that too. This scene I wasn't too fussed to cut, really. It wasn't as prominent as the Air France one. And looking back, it wasn't really needed. But, yeah. I would now talk about the 8th of May, working with the media students, but I'm not allowed. My monkey lawyer insists on this, because when I made an Instagram story on my page, without any names or places mentioned, so a vague description of how stressed and annoyed I was about the whole messy process of working, I can't go into any details. The same lecturer who worked with them wanted to have a word with me about this. But I spoke to our normal lecturer about it, and she said she'd talk to him. Fair enough. Yeah. All I can say is that I came out of this incredibly burnt out, confused, and we were pretty much all frustrated. I definitely shouldn't have made a story about me being so frustrated with it, even though I don't think it was that big of a deal, because it's my personal story. But, yeah, we live on, I suppose. It was not a fun time. Anyway, 4th week rolls around, and we're online learning and staging. We had an almost complete script, because things would change with the script at times, with like ad-libs or tweaked lines here and there, but the skeleton was there. We had to relearn our staging, because our piece got cut into weird mismatched sections stuck together when working with the media students on the 8th. And doing that for 3 hours meant we had to unlearn it. But 4th week was actually quite chill from what I remember, or as chill as it can be the week before an assessment. We were loving our piece. Our group was fab. Levi would play his guitar, and I mean, fair play to him. He spent ages learning to play it and singing it for the last bit of the show. Fair play to him. Belle made a compilation of videos and photos for us to all watch at the end as part of the show. Once we finished talking, we spin the sofa around, we watch it with the audience, and she helped with our cues and lighting too. Belle's video was matched with Levi's guitar playing. I did the audios that we had and didn't end up using some of them, as well as the form for reimbursement, because we had £30 per person to use for our performance. I spent like £25 worth on paper. Ruth would come up with ideas for us to use in rehearsal, so the next day when we came in, she had ideas and we could use them. And we all wrote it and we all acted in it. So everyone pulled their weight, And when it came closer to having to show the whole class our performances, most of the groups were reluctant to do this, because once you've seen a group's thing, you're not going to have the same reaction as in on the actual day of the performances, because you've already seen it. So rather reluctantly, our groups were starting to show stuff back through by the end of the 4th week. One little grudge I held was that we were all told during the Friday sessions that each group had 30 minutes with the class. In that time, you could show stuff back or get feedback or run exercises or tasks to help with the devising of the piece. We had the option, right? We were told we had the choice. Most groups chose to show a really small part of their performances and then did activities to help themselves. We did one where we had everyone in the class choose their most distinctive memory during their time at uni. And we found that really helpful because we could see what people remembered and quite a lot of them were relevant to what we cover in our piece, and because people didn't want to spoil their show. But yeah, many people talked about the main shows we did and South Africa. Only then, after each group had finished, did those lecturers tell us all to sit in the audience and then proceed to express how disappointed they were that people mainly did activities and didn't show stuff back. This was a really low moment, I think, because we were given the choice. They told us we had a choice to spend the half an hour however we thought would be helpful. But I can't help but think if they had an issue with what we were doing, or if they wanted to see more of the performances, if they'd have stopped the activities and asked, we would have shown more. But we were all under the impression that we had creative liberty with how we used the time given, because that's what they told us, And yeah, we're doing an activity. If they'd have gone and said something like, actually, do you mind showing us something? Because we haven't seen a lot of your show. We would have done so. But I remember we all came out of there feeling so demotivated and confused. Our group certainly didn't have the energy to work on it afterwards. So after talking about it for a bit, we went home. I remember quite a few people in the class would speak to our main lecturer to complain about it and how that was treated, and things in general that I can't, won't, shouldn't, cannot mention here. I say one little grudge, but I feel that might have been a mini essay. But yeah, that was not fun at all. Week 5 comes around and things were looking up. Everything in our piece was staged, we knew our lines. I really liked Henry's idea of doing run-throughs, but in a silly way. It's like with accents and messing around, so long as every line and transition was done correctly. I think he's bang on the money with the idea, because it does help you to remember it all. I don't know why it works, but it really does. I'm going to take that. I'm going to keep that idea. I love it. I didn't do accents when I did mine, but I just made fun of Ruth every time she spoke. Stuff like "don't care," "shut up," "future speed bump," and so on. Whatever I could think of to throw her off her lines. The others were doing French, Russian, Welsh, and others I couldn't recognise, but it worked really, really well. We were very confident with our piece, and as the days counted down to the show days, we kept rehearsing and getting ready, as you do. And then it was time. On the 15th and 16th of May, we had our show dates, one showing per day, and I'd say it went really well. Our piece received laughs at our funny moments. We made our class cry by the end, as we wrap up our piece with the end of uni. It's 30 minutes for 3 years, 10 minutes a year roughly. And we have the tribute at the end of our performance of the last 3 years, the video and photo montage that Belle made. And we were told by loads of people that they really enjoyed it, so I reckon we did a good job. We were first to go on both the dates, and usually I love being first because it means that I could watch the other shows without the stress. But ours was the kind of show that should have been last, to leave on a bittersweet ending, but we didn't get to go last. Anyway, both our showings went really well, and Ruth's family recorded our second show, so we have that to keep, which I'm very, very grateful for, because we weren't to have a proper recording of it. I don't know why they weren't recording it, but there we go. Only the tech run was available to us as a recording, but that didn't go brilliantly, which wasn't the tech team's fault. It was a genuine technology fault. But once our show was done on the second day, then we watched the other shows. I really enjoyed this. And afterwards, everyone either hung around uni or went home. Hello, post-video Jamie here. I forgot to mention, once we'd all seen each other's shows, we had a class award ceremony where, like a week before, we had to vote for members of the class on different categories, like best performer, most likely to get an Oscar, all that jazz. And during this award ceremony, I was very happy to have won most funniest, and I will happily take that. It's quite an award to receive, and yeah, fair dues. On with the rest of the video. I loved watching all the shows. It was quite sentimental, seeing the last shows that this class would make, each group. It was around 3 p.m. when the shows finished, and we planned to meet at around 6:30 to go to Weatherspoons for 7. I had quite a lot to drink, shots, ciders, and some other stuff. For some reason, though, after a certain amount of time, I couldn't bring myself to drink anymore. Like, no matter how much I really, really wanted to get drunk, the idea of drinking more just seemed repulsive. I did get a bit drunk, though. That was fun. I got a little bit woozy. During the night out, I had quite a few chicken wings from Spoons and onion rings. I hadn't eaten during the day because I never eat much during a performance, so that I don't risk feeling full/bloated/sick. It's on my list of rules in my head, next to have a shit earlier in the day and don't have spicy food the day before. I stayed out with people till about 1ish, I think. Yeah, about 1ish, until some of us went back home. I got myself a lovely post-midnight snack from Uber Eats, a pot of ice cream that was quite expensive, but very nice. And that was me done for the night. The morning after then, apart from being really thirsty, I was all okay. I wasn't hungover or anything. I uploaded Quiescence, our latest audio drama, at 2 p.m, and I had work from 5 till 10, so I had to travel back home. That, as it stands, is every module and every assessment covered of the theatre and drama course I've been doing for the last 3 years. It's all covered, apart from the marks for this 30-minute performance and the 20-minute one. But yeah, it's so scary. That was our last assessment to do, and it's really sad because I'm sad it's over because my team were brilliant and I loved working with them. Yeah, I look forward to seeing how our marks are as well. But yeah, I enjoyed working on our 30-minute thing. Now I want to talk about Quiescence, our audio drama, which is actually our series finale of My Doctor's Series 1. The reason this video took so long is because I was working on it, and I do one project at a time for my own sanity. But this one that we've just finished then goes on to our very first audio that we made. The very first one that we made is chronologically the latest one that we've done so far. And I love that the last year and a bit of audios, they set you up for Not One Line. I thought it would, because, the idea behind it was that Not One Line initially was going to be a standalone audio, just making the one. But we've made loads of audio since then, and I love it. The only thing is that you can probably tell the quality of audio, the quality of the editing and the audio quality will be a bit lower because I was still learning how to use Audacity back then, and we were using phone mics and a really cheap Argos mic for Not One Line. And obviously we've since developed and got better equipment since then. And maybe some of the acting in it might be a bit interesting, but it does work, to be fair. The Doctor isn't himself in this one, but neither would you be if you went through the same events that he did in Series 1. You know? But yeah. Quiescence is my favourite cover that we've done. I love how it turned out, and I finally discovered how to cut out people so you don't have to have them awkwardly floating about, or you're not restricted to just having a full body shot. It's so good. Making the full cast audios takes bloody ages to make. Like, we recorded with all the cast on the 13th of April. I exported it for the final time and uploaded it online on Sunday the 17th of May. So over a month later. There were some line redos and scenes to be tweaked, so that's partly why. But they were definitely needed to do. It turned out brilliantly, but now I need a mini break before making any more full cast audios. It is always worth it to hear how they turn out, but it's a lot of time given to them. Quiescence is on YouTube, Spotify, and also IMDb, so all the cast get a credit on there too. But yeah, this was our 7th audio, I think, or 8th. Yeah, 8th audio, I think. And I was making this around about the same time as our 30-minute performance stuff, so you can see how busy I was during this time. Uni by day, quiescence by night. No complaints from me though. I love being busy. Yeah. And also something else which we'll cover in a minute. So what's next to cover? Well, dear viewer, we have since had our marks back for the 20-minute performance that we did before Easter. This was the performance of 100 that we did, and everyone on the team helped in their own way, as they usually do. We had our results back on the 21st of April. One thing I'm not a fan on is the idea of a group mark for this module. My monkey lawyer has advised me on wording this, so I know I'm safe, but I don't think group marks are necessarily representative of every group member's contribution to the group. I had a meeting with my head of year to see how my year's going, and obviously most things were brilliant. I do like my course, but I brought up here how I didn't like group marks. And he actually agreed with me and said that he disapproves of group marking as well, for the same reasons that I gave him. It's too late to change it for us now, but from next year it is going to be individually marked for the students, which is brilliant for those that pull their weight and bad for those that rely on others. When you're marked partly on how you work as a group, you're not then going to go and tell on your group to the lecturer because it's going to come across as you working badly as a group. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, in year 1, when we had our head of year for an assessment, I loved how he marked us. Each group had a group mark, sure, but then every member of the group had their own individual mark, and that was what was used to grade you. After the assessment, he had us write what we did to contribute to the group, and obviously if you pulled your weight, you'd have the group average or higher. If you didn't have anything worthy or if you didn't have anything showing you put effort in, you got marked down. And it was a brilliant system. Other modules / assessments did a similar thing where you didn't even get a group mark. You were assessed on what lecturers saw of you in practice, such as the TIE stuff or applied drama, and that was really good, And also contribution in class / rehearsals. But yeah, where was I? The 20-minute performance. Our whole group had 75, a brilliant score which I'm over the moon with. I added this to my bar chart, and overall I'm very, very happy with how I've done this year, apart from in acting for camera, which I actually bitch about in part 6 if you're interested. I'm not going to bitch about it again here, even though I did not like it. And the final thing I'll be mentioning in this video is the Welsh exam. Now, throughout the last 3 years of uni, I have been very lucky to be a recipient of the 5-credit Welsh scholarship. Each year I do 5 credits of stuff in Welsh and I receive £250, so 750 altogether. I've really enjoyed doing this, and it makes sure that I don't fully lose my Welsh when I'm busy having to work on uni stuff. Do you know what I mean? The lectures I've had for this mini bonus module have been lovely, and they helped me every step of the way, because I'm not totally fluent in Welsh, but I'm not awful too, They were lovely, helping me when I needed, and yeah. I enjoyed the online calls to help me. Anyway, this year we did a Welsh acting CV, a PowerPoint comparing acting for camera with stage acting, and I updated my LinkedIn with Welsh to be in it. And the last step was a Welsh exam. This was quite scary because I haven't done an exam like this since college, so 3 years ago. Although this one was online, which I'd never done before. I had to turn up to one of the classrooms at uni and take the WJEC exam online, which was a bit unsettling. This was on the 6th of May now. And there's just something about doing it online that's weird, you know? But the content within was exactly the same as a Welsh A-level exam. You've got your grammar, your translanguaging, and your free writing. So this was around about the same time as the 30-minute performance stuff and quiescence. But obviously I prioritised the exam first, which is partly why quiescence took a bit longer to make. In the exam, I had an hour and a half to do these questions, and at the time, it just seemed to fly by. It was genuinely scary how fast it went. I barely remember being in the room, but all your bags had to go at the front. You had to fill out this stuff on the computer first before beginning. And yeah, I hope I passed it. It was quite tricky. I covered all the questions, did what they asked. I think it was a bit of a step up from the A-level version, or maybe I'm just a bit out of practice, even though I did revise quite a bit. But we will see how I got on in a few months' time. I do wish I could remember the questions so I could check them post-exam, or having the actual exam paper be available, but they're not. Oh well, we shall see how that turns out. So yeah, that's how I've been spending my April and middle of May. It's been very chaotic, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And it's sad that we've almost reached the end of this whole series, you know? Not just my uni experience year 3, but my uni experience in general, and potentially my anything experience. I'm not really sure what I'll be doing next. Only time will tell. But before we get into an existential crisis, this year isn't fully over yet. There's still more to cover in the next few videos. So anyways, thank you all for watching this video. I do hope you've enjoyed. Be sure to like and subscribe. Have a good day. Don't forget to drink hot chocolate. Stay safe, and from me, it is goodbye for now.